It's official. We are less than 24 hours until the kickoff between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Michigan Wolverines, just right behind me in Ohio Stadium in the Horseshoe. Excited to bring it to you. We have a preview and prediction show on today's episode of the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast.
We've got the whole crew together as we cover Ohio State with our instant analysis from Ohio State.
There's something that doesn't feel right.
Unbelievable effort from him today. Is E.J. Liddell going to crack the first team All-Big Ten?
I think he can be the guy. I'm not trying to start a quarterback controversy.
He seems to have the durability. He certainly has the toughness. This is the question on a lot of people's minds here. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown.
And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. Anthony Moeglin here, running solo this afternoon as we are less than 24 hours until the biggest game in the last decade of Ohio State football, because the Buckeyes have the opportunity in front of them to put the finishing touches on a really impressive season in a year that there's been a ton of change in college football, in a year that they have an opportunity to not only win the Big Ten, win the national title, but take down the team up north. And it's been such a fun week here on the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. And if you've been with us from Sunday till now, we really appreciate it. If you're jumping in for the first time, absolutely love that you're jumping in and joining us here. But really excited to bring you today's episode because it is the finishing touch on what's been an exciting week and what has the opportunity to be an exciting day tomorrow. It's going to be a quick one today, but what we want to talk about this afternoon is a little bit of a preview and prediction for what's going to take place here tomorrow. If you can't hear it and if you can't see it, the snow is starting to fall. It's really, really cold, just about 28 degrees currently here in Columbus, and the wind is whipping. Not sure if there's anything that you can tell from behind me. Maybe some of those trees are starting to flutter a little bit, but wind is really whipping, and I do think the weather is going to play a little bit of a factor in the game tomorrow. And when you look at these two teams kind of side by side, on paper, Ohio State should dominate this football game. It shouldn't even be close. Ohio State is the better team on all three phases, on offense, on defense, and on special teams. And it's not by a thin margin. Ohio State's defense is, without question, in my opinion, the best in the country. They're led by a couple guys. We talked about them earlier in the week, and Caleb Downs in the secondary and Cody Simon in the second level at the linebacker position. Those two guys have legit chances, and in my opinion, could be up for Defensive Players of the Year because, not from a stats perspective, but they're so valuable to this group that's been one of the best groups in the entire country all along. And then on the offensive side of the ball, this Ohio State offense has started to show signs that they're taking that next step. They haven't been perfect quite yet. They've had some slow starts. You think back to the Nebraska game, you think back to Northwestern, you think back to Purdue, a couple slow starts, but when they do flip that switch, they do so in a pretty impressive way. And just from a statistical standpoint, Ohio State is just going to be – you look at these numbers here. For Michigan, led by Davis Warren, throwing the ball at the quarterback position. And just side by side, those stats, right? He's just thrown for just north of 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns to 7 interceptions compared to Will Howard's 2,685 yards, 26 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. And then the backfield numbers kind of swayed. We talked about it in our preview episode, but Mullings leads the way for Michigan, and he takes over for Donovan Edwards, who, it's really not even close. Mullings has really been the bell cow in that backfield. That's 153 carries for 832 yards and the 11 scores. And on the flip side, it's that two-headed monster for Ohio State between Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. You see Judkins' stats here, 135 carries for 759 yards and 8 touchdowns. And then on the outside, it's not even a question. Ohio State's receiving corps has the opportunity tomorrow to really blow this thing open. If the wind and the weather doesn't play that much of a factor, I do expect a huge game out of that Ohio State receiving room, mostly because they're better than what the team up north brings to the table. But breaking news from just about an hour ago before I recorded this, Will Johnson is not going to play for Michigan, or I guess he is questionable at this point to play for Michigan. So they'll be down one of their top cover guys in a game that they can't afford to be down one of their top cover guys. And then for Michigan, Colston Loveland, he's a great tight end, but that's what he is, a tight end. They don't really have much that's going to scare you from a skill position perspective. So Ohio State should look to not only win this football game, but should look to absolutely dominate it. And these numbers come from ESPN Bet. Oh, wrong button there. But from a betting perspective, if you're a betting person like I am myself, here are your numbers. This game did open at Ohio State as a 20.5-point favorite. That line has now moved to 19.5 points. That over-under is at 42.5. And if, in my opinion, this is not I don't think this one's going to be close for a number of reasons. One, for everything I just said, Ohio State just absolutely is the better football team, and they should be able to show that come tomorrow. But there's a lot of pent-up frustration and anger for all of the things that have been going on in this rivalry. Not only the fact that it is a way of life, as my partner Kevin Weike talked about all week long, that Ohio State players don't think about this game for just this week. This is a way of life. This is what they train for in March, in February, in April. It's what they think about in the summertime, in June and July when they're working out on the fields. They're thinking about this football game. And now this year, after the storylines of the past few years with everything that the team up north potentially did or didn't do, and it led to 3 straight victories for them over this Ohio State team. So everybody came back. All of the key players from last year came back for tomorrow. They didn't come back to beat Purdue or Northwestern or Michigan State. They came back for another opportunity to get the Michigan Wolverines and get their first pair of gold pants. So it's going to be really, really exciting. For me, my prediction, Ohio State thumps them. I think it's an Ohio State 42, Michigan 7. So not very close at all. And I think Ohio State really lets some demons out and makes this a pretty decisive victory. And like I said earlier, if this is your first time joining us, I certainly do appreciate it. I know our team does. Hit that like and subscribe button. We love doing content just like this. We had a great fun week of content where we previewed the game. We talked about what this week is like for an Ohio State football player. We talked about the top 5 versions of this matchup. A couple cool episodes and a lot of cool content that's living on our page. So hit that subscribe button, get over there and watch some of that stuff. And then for all of our written content, it's on that slider that's right below me. It's si.com/college/Ohio State. And if you can hear this wind whipping around and the snow falling around, I'm getting pretty cold here. So I'm going to get out of here, but we're really excited for tomorrow's game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Michigan Wolverines. And in just a few short hours, this entire place is going to be rocking, and I'm getting really, really excited to be here. So I appreciate you jumping in and joining me, Anthony Moeglin, for this episode of the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. Can always be found on Ohio State Buckeyes on SI.